What's up, y'all? It's JC. If you're new, welcome to the channel. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. Please hit that like button, drop a comment so that the channel can grow. But anyways, let's get into the topic. So recently, Kevin Durant went on the Mind the Game podcast, LeBron's podcast. Also, Steve Nash is a host as well. And they talked about small guards and listen to what Kevin Durant had to say.
6'2" and under guard
Yes.
is at a premium no more as a starter. Maybe as a backup,
Yep.
but you have to be.
We just talked about this the last night.
It's gotten compressed,
It has.
right? It's compressed.
It has.
It's at like either
the-
Donovan
yeah,
Mitchell,
yeah.
Drew Holiday, 6'3",
yeah.
or
Lou
6'4",
Dort.
Lou Dort,
Yeah.
or it's not. You got to be.
You can't get picked on defense. That's the thing, because we play such the pick on game that they will really, literally, if you can't guard, they will bring you up every
single
play.
time.
Yeah,
And if
every
you're
play.
6', 6'1", and you're not a bulldog like
Right.
the Davion Mitchell,
Yeah.
Drew Holidays. On the defensive side, or you're not an
Or
offensive
not athletic
flat out
as hell, yeah.
savant like
Yeah.
Kyrie, where you can score on dudes 7 feet easily in ISO, then I just can't see it.
So there you have it. As you heard KD, he's basically saying like the 6'2" and under guard as a starter is really, it is not how it used to be. You still have Kyrie, you got Donovan Mitchell, you have Fred Van Vliet. Who else? Who else is a Trey Young? Those are just off the top of my head right now. Those are the guys who, start for teams and that fall under that height category. But it's really not, how it used to be. I know for me growing up, talking, remember actually remember the game like early 2000s when I first started, comprehending and remembering stuff. You had a bunch of guys, man, and not just start, like, of course you had starters like AI. You had Baron Davis, Steve Francis, and it was plenty of other guys who had starting jobs. Andre Miller, I'm thinking he's like 6'2". They're around those heights, and it's like the game has changed. The game has changed, and when you're looking at like what, to piggyback off what KD said, he's like, you got to be a bulldog. Like, you have to be great at one thing when you're that height. I think when guys are taller, they can get away with being a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, not great at everything, but good at a bunch of stuff. But when you're that height, you got to be off the charts at something. I'm thinking of, like he mentioned, Kyrie, how put the ball in the basket on pretty much anybody. One of the greatest scores we've ever seen in the game. One of the greatest handles, if not the greatest handles we've ever seen in the game. Fred Van Vliet, I think he's great at, in terms of IQ. He has one of the best assist to turnover ratios, I believe, over the past couple of years. He's been an all-star. He, like, defensively, he gets after it, right? When you think of, and then when you come to the Trey Young again, shoot the lights out, high IQ. But when you look at the other guys around the league, like you're talking backups, you got a Davion Mitchell, like KD mentioned, you have to be a bulldog. Like, defensively, you have to get after it. I'm thinking of Jose Alvarado, bulldog defensively. You got to get after it. And then there are some other guys like a high IQ, like a TJ McConnell. We saw what he did in the playoff run, right? Also in the finals. So, but you just don't see all the guys like you used to, man. Like, even like I say, early 2000s, even early 2010s, the league was kind of like, you will see guys 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2", on pretty much every roster. But now it's like it's not really, and they would get burned. They would get playing time. Like, now that's really not the case, man. As the game has evolved, of course, the bigger guard has pretty much, like, teams want that big guard, especially at the point position. Like, I'm thinking it, like, case in point, SGA. He's what, 6'6", point guard, MVP. He just pretty much had, one of the best postseason runs we've seen in NBA history. You got like a Cade Cunningham. I'm trying to think of the big guards, man. You got who else? Who else? I know it's a lot of them. It's just not coming to me right now. But that's where the game is going, man. It's kind of, it has shifted towards the bigger guard, and I don't know if it's going to turn back. When it comes to the NBA, you see trends, and when the small ball era kind of kicked off with the Warriors dynasty, saw teams try to adapt. I'm just thinking about my Houston Rockets. I remember when the team traded Clint Capella away, just to go small ball, just shoot threes, and that was the plan in order to try to combat those Warriors teams. And previously, before that small ball era, if you don't remember, there was a time where like the 6'7" guy, like if you were 6'7", 6'8", and you play like power forward, and you could play you could play power forward or small forward. Those guys didn't last long in the league. Like those guys were like seen as like, we don't really want, like, he's not a real big and he's not a real wing. Like those guys weren't seen as how they are today. So the game evolves, trends. I do think they come back around because, again, 90s, early 2000s, you got bully ball was in effect. The big man, you had a big power forward, you had a big center. And now I think that the game is kind of coming back around to that. You see teams going after, getting two bigs like the Knicks. You got Cat and Mitchell Robinson. Those are 2-footers right there. You got, I'm trying to think of who else, but you got the Rockets with Ime. He's been implementing the double big lineup with Şengün and Steven Adams this past season. So I do think trends come back around, but I don't know if the small guard will come back into effect, man. I just like having a guy who's 6'7", 6'5", 6'6" at the point guard position. I feel like that just changes a lot, man. And I mentioned Fred VanVleet in terms of, guys getting out there defensively, like those guys, Davion Mitchell, Fred VanVleet, who else? Jose Alvarado. They use that leverage to get into their defender, right? But sometimes when the guy is just taller, they rise up, they can just knock down that jump shot. It's like they play good defense, but it just didn't matter because of the height difference. So maybe we do see a small guard emergence again in the future, but I think for the next 5 years, I think the big guards are just going to continue to take over. But those are my thoughts in the comments. Let me know yours.